I'm Steve, and Absolute Batman 20 is here. Let's talk about it. So issue 20 starts off with like all of these panels that look like the main canon universe of the Batcave, but obviously we know this is the Joker's cave, and that's being mixed in with panels from events from this run, most notably Black Mask and the Party Animals, Bane, Arkham, and of course Jim Gordon's death. All of that's being played on the big screen in front of the Joker, as it appears like babies and their blood and skin are being pumped into him, as he's like 50% changed into the monster that he is. Absolute Batman 20, The Straw Man Part 2 by Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta, and Frank Martin. The next page cuts to Mayor Hill talking about Batman being responsible for Gordon's death and how the Robin Initiative are going to take care of him. All of that is happening while Bruce is looking through the Project Batman files and finding some crazy stuff, like the zoo map from when he was a kid, photos of him as a kid and through his life, and then it shows here on a piece of paper, Dr. Crane believes Bruce to be susceptible, meaning it kind of feels like Batman being set up as Bruce being set up as Batman, I should say, was all part of Joker's plan or Dr. Crane's plan. I guess we're going to find out more here in this issue. The next page, it shows Selena Kyle talking into the Batman cowl, asking him if he really did that, if he really did kill Jim Gordon. And he's just listening to it as he's looking at Jim Gordon's coat, which of course he tried to catch and try to stop Gordon from dying in a previous issue. The next page shows Pennyworth and Harley Quinn going in to check on Batman, as Harley is holding her hammer that she's famous for holding, but of course it looks a little bit different here in the Absolute universe, with it being like basically attached to like a battery. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, they break in. They find out that Absolute Batman has he's escaped through the floor there, and Harley Quinn is starting to look at all of the files from Project Batman and all the photos and all of that. The next couple pages touches on Waylon Jones talking to Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler here in the Absolute universe. He's wearing like this suit that's kind of crazy with all these question marks on him. And he shows Waylon, Killer Croc, who's now back to being a human, that whatever he is seeing will show up on the screen behind them as well. They're talking about Harvey and Ozzy and what they're doing, and he shows that on the screen as well. But the reason why Waylon was there was to say, what are we going to do about Bruce? And basically they both talk about how much they've changed since Bruce became Batman and how they preferred the life before then. But they're kind of reminiscing together. They're kind of like bonding through trauma, and it ends with them really not coming up with a plan to help Batman. They're just talking about it. We get a then page, which Scott Snyder is definitely known for, showing Bruce going to Blackgate prison. This is following Waylon Jones beating Bebo and taking all of Falcone's money, and Falcone saying, you're going to do 6 years here and you're going to help me because 10% of all of my business runs through Blackgate. The next page shows Batman flying through the air with his cape, landing at Blackgate prison, because that was kind of like a foreshadowing happening there. And he goes to see Joe Chill, the man responsible for his father's death. And he shows up, guns a-blazing, basically, starts hollering at him right away. He throws his cape at him, tries to get him closer, saying, why didn't you tell me? Tell me it's not a lie. Why aren't you talking to me? Did you actually kill Thomas Wayne? Because I've been reading in a file that you went there with a target and it was Thomas Wayne, and his son visits you every single month and you give him nothing but mumbling. And as Joe Chill is like freaking out, saying, someone help me, Absolute Scarecrow shows up. And Bruce sees him and he immediately says, you killed Jim Gordon. And the straw man says, me? I heard it was you. But my guess, it just became too much for him. Happens a lot these days. And they start talking about Jim Gordon and about how, about everything that's been happening to Bruce and Batman. And this is happening right after he blows smoke into Joe Chill's face, which is kind of like showing, something's going to happen. Something's bad is going to happen to Joe Chill, just like we saw at the beginning of issue 19 with the farmers 1,500 miles away. He says to him, I get why you're angry, though. I do. None of this makes a lick of sense. The Batman Project, some big decades-long conspiracy to make you into this. And, he basically says to him right then and there, right before that, actually, he tells him that he knows that Bruce is Batman. And that's kind of crazy, obviously. So he knows all about Batman, and he's read the file as well at this point. And he's telling Bruce that he's missing the big key. He's missing the big reason why all of this is happening. As he starts talking, Batman says, why would I even listen to you? You're just another one of his freaking operatives. And a straw man says, could be. Maybe I am some operative, traveling the world, toppling governments, causing panic, yada yada. Or maybe I'm just a straw man out for a walk. But we're here to talk about you. Why in the hell this was done to you? And the reason is your mother, Bruce. Because Martha, she was a loyal member of the Court of Owls, a terrorist. And that causes Bruce to go crazy. He says, shut up. He reaches through the bars to try to punch him and grab him. And the straw man backs up, takes out a knife, and stabs him right in the arm. Right after Scarecrow stabs Batman in the arm, you see Joe Chill sitting there with crows around him, because something bad is going to happen like it did in the beginning of issue 19. He says to Bruce, now, I know it's hard realizing your whole life was some project, but the good news is, it's not. See, Grim and I, we thought it'd be funny. After all, what's a natural prey of an owl, Bruce? That's right, a bat. That's the why of your life. Batman isn't a project, he's a joke. You done making your bed over there, Joe? And you see Joe trying to basically hang himself and commit suicide. As we know, that toxin from Dr. Crane has gone into him, just like at the beginning of issue 19. I talked about that. He's trying to commit suicide. And Batman tries to save him with his cape. And what happens? Well, Scarecrow says basically that he's not about fear. He's actually about dread. And he likes the world that way. He thinks it's wonderful as he cuts Batman's cape. You see Joe just hanging there dead with all these crows around him, and Batman screaming at the absolute version of Scarecrow, saying, I'll tear you apart. And he goes, you know what? That's my cue. That's my cue to walk on. And you see him just kind of just disappear as a caw from a crow is seen in the bottom panel. And right then and there, that is when the cops come showing up, thinking that Batman has killed another Gothamite. He jumps out the window, flying through the air. And then we get another then panel. This one is showing Falcone giving a bat to Bruce, saying, you're never actually going to have to use it, but everyone has to have it at some point. It's a tool. Basically, people are going to be scared of him because he has that tool on him. Then you see him flying through there, talking to Pennyworth, talking to him about everything that he's learned. And he talks about how Scarecrow killed him right in front of him. And that is when Bruce flies right into Dick Grayson as part of the Robin Initiative. And Dick says, stop. By the authority of the Robin Initiative, you're under arrest. And what's interesting is, over these next couple of pages, is that each one of the Robins has their own number. Robin 1 is Dick. Robin 2 is Jason Todd. Robin 3 is Tim Drake. Robin 4 is Duke Thomas. Robin 5 is Stephanie Brown. They're all getting, their licks in here trying to stop Bruce. He's trying to get away. And it appears they have him cornered. And Pennyworth says, kid, get out of there. Run. In the last panels here, Bruce takes out the axe off his chest and says, no. And then all the Robins are right there in front of him in their mech suits saying, all right then, Batman, time's up. Next issue, Batman versus Robins. All right, guys, that issue had it all. Great storytelling, callbacks at the beginning of the story, superb action, multiple villains being showcased, and our first full look at the Robins. I don't know about you guys, but the issue was just incredible. 10 out of 10 for me. I did love issue 19 a little bit more, but that issue was a top 3 issue of the entire run so far. The art in this issue, though, issue 20 by Dragata, is incredible. The colors by Frank Martin are perfect. And as always, Scott Snyder gives us a chef's kiss of a story. Everyone go pick up your copy of Absolute Batman 20 that comes out today. I'm Steve from Burke Family 54 Comics. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about today's video. How much are you liking Absolute Batman? All that and more. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And as always, go Cats!
Cowabunga! It's morphin' time!